talked about rule changes in Major League Baseball that are coming in 2023, but there was something I saw at a minor league game this year. I went to Round Rock to watch the Round Rock Express in a game. And about the sixth inning, I saw the catcher mention something to the umpire. The umpire took his mask off, looked up to the press box, patted the top of his head, and then grabbed an earpiece and put it in his ear. Well, I know Tim Jackson, the general manager at Round Rock, and I went over and asked him what the deal was. He said, well, it's an experimental deal where baseball's asked us to do in the minor leagues where there is an appeal on the pitch. It has to be initiated by either the pitcher or the catcher immediately after the pitch. And what the umpire does is he asks the press box to go to the pitch tracker and see if he got the call, right or wrong. And if you appealed it and the umpire was right, you lose your appeal, and you've got 3 appeals in a game. If you, challenge one and the umpire was wrong and they change it, you don't lose that appeal. And I thought, shortstops make mistakes. They make errors. Pitchers throw wild pitches. Catchers have pass balls. Guys get thrown out trying to steal a base. There are mistakes that are made in the game. Why must umpires be infallible? Why do we have this replay thing in here that, okay, it only took maybe 30 seconds to do this, but it's another replay type thing that's elongating the game?
This is an extension of the replay right there.
Pretty much.
And now you know why they're doing the replays, because everybody believes they are infallible. Umpires are fallible. So it's that's a double-edged sword right there. They're going to make mistakes, and so are the players. So
and the umpires don't make anywhere near the amount of money that the players make, but they're the ones that are supposed to be absolutely perfect out there.
Particularly in Little League and Tina's.
Well, that's another story. Totally.
Okay, so they tap their head. They get 3 shots at this during the whole ball game. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
and it only happened once in that game.
It's overplay. It's overkill for me. I think it's something that might go away. I would hope it goes away, because
it's one of those experiments in minor league that may end up in the majors.
With what they've done so far, I wouldn't be surprised if they do accept that next year as part of that. So, but you only got 3 per game. Well, that's slowing the game down again. Mm-hmm. 3 instances per side, I would assume. Correct?
Yes.
All right. So, that's not something that I would promote. As for sure. It's baseball's losing its uniqueness again, and with the way things are going, and there's no reason for it.
If you're going to let computers call the game, then why not have robots play the game? I mean, how far are we going to go with this?
Really.
And when robots are playing, are we just going to be a video game now?
That sounds like a science fiction comedy. Anyway,
right up there with Idiocracy.
Oh yeah, exactly. So basically, now I can't even go any further with that. Really, to tell you the truth, it's ludicrous. To me, it makes no sense. Matter of fact, if I'm a spectator and this is going on, I'm thinking, I didn't come out here to watch the umpire. I came out here to watch the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
The umpire's just part of the game.
Yeah, and if I want to yell at the umpire, I'll yell at the umpire.
Oh yeah, and
put some earplugs in, rabbit ears, and don't listen.
Well, that's basically yeah. But they're out there; they're paid to do a job, and hopefully they do it as well as they can. And the idea that we got to have replay has really slowed the game down. Period. Mm-hmm. Now I understand though, everybody wanting to get it right. But most of these guys, particularly at a major league level, do get it right about 95% of the time, where we don't need that.
No.
So
you mentioned in a previous podcast that the best batters are only successful 30% of the time.
That's right. It's because of
now, we would never accept an umpire being correct just 30% of the time, but are we okay with him being correct 90% of the time?
That's great.
Apparently not, because they want to be 100% accurate.
Yeah,
I think that's just.
I think umpiring in the lower levels is not real good.
No.
Most of those guys are pulled out of the stands and here umpire. They got dinner on the table. They're trying to get the game over.
Those guys, some of them are struggling. Well, when you talk about teenage league and stuff like that, they're anybody that they can get out there. And believe me, I've umpired at the teenage level. I've umpired at the little league level. I've umpired at the high school level. I've umpired at JUCO level.
Right.
And it's a glamorous, thankless job.
Correct.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that somebody will do it, considering the BS that they have to put up with when they do it.
Exactly.
I've only thrown out one coach in my entire umpiring career.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to do that.
Yeah. But, it was because he was on me with the first pitch. I called a high strike, and he said, it better be a strike all day. I said, it will. But about the fourth inning, he was still griping about it, and I just had enough. I said, come here, coach. And he walked out there, and he started yakking at me, and all I wanted to say is, Coach, I've heard everything I want to hear from you today. Go back to the dugout and coach your ball club. And he just kept yapping at me, wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say. And that's when I said, all right, you're going. He said, what did I say? I said, you wouldn't shut up. Get in the bus.
Well, he baited you into getting thrown out. That's all. And a lot of guys will do that. So, look.
So he didn't want to watch his team. Is that what you're saying?
Anyway, a lot of guys will do that. I think it's not right, but it happens. So that's it.
But I just don't understand why umpires have to be infallible in the game of baseball.
No, they're expected to be. They're put at a higher level, like your preacher is put at a higher level.
Well, then pay them what you pay those major leaguers.
Well, I think they're getting paid pretty good now.
They are getting paid good, but not anything like Max Scherzer or any of those guys.
No, they're not doing quite that well.
No,
but
it's a decent living for what?
Well,
9
you got to
months
look
of work?
at what they got to do and what Max has to do. It's a little bit different. So, but I understand. I hear where you're coming from.
One other thing I wanted to bring up today: a player has a change of scenery, and I'm using Joey Galloway as a example here.
Gallo.
Joey Gallo. Oh, Galloway's a wide receiver. Joe Gallo. Joey Gallo. Okay, Joey Gallo. He's playing for the Texas Rangers. He looks like he's going to be a slugger, and they trade him to the Yankees. He goes to New York and is just terrible in New York. Matter of fact, he is absolutely terrified by being in the city of New York. He's been quoted about how he was terrified to go out on the streets because of how, you've already mentioned this several times, how rabid the Yankee fans can be.
Well, they're diehards.
Yeah.
So are Met fans, too.
Oh, yeah. But now he's been traded to the Dodgers, and he's flourishing again with the Dodgers. So have you ever had that experience of the change of scenery as to how it is affecting a particular player? I mean, it may also have something to do with the players that he's surrounded by. I don't know.
I was with the Mets, and I got traded to the Astros, so I had to. I lived through that. When they traded me, I said, "What? You don't want me anymore?" Anyway,
You don't love me.
Yeah. What? They divorced me. Anyway, so I went over there. And at that time, I'd done really well in AAA, and it's hit like 429 that year. And a manager told me I was going to be playing for him. And we go across. We were at the Cardinals complex over on the north side of St. Pete. And we get on the bus, and he had already told me this. And I'm thinking, well, this is really good. I made this team, and that's great. And we get off the bus, and I go inside, and the assistant director of minor league says, "Come into my office." Well, I think he's going to give me a AAA contract and a raise. No. Well, he gave me a raise, all right. It wasn't a raise. Well, anyway, he said, "We've traded you to Houston." Okay. Well, I'm like, what? I just made this team over here. Well, he wasn't so sure that I did.
Was it a situation of the Mets didn't want you, or the Astros wanted you? Or do you know?
The Astros wanted me.
Okay.
I can't say that the Mets didn't want me because I got along well with everybody over there. Yeah. It's just that they had an opportunity. They felt like to make a switch, and it would benefit both people. So, all right, so I get traded and go over there. it was going like to, I guess, another state. You get moved and you're meeting new people and the whole. It was kind of a, I was kind of tentative at first, but I knew a bunch of the guys that I played against over there, and we got in with them. I knew 2 or 3 of the managers and coaches. And I knew a bunch of the players. So, in that respect, it went pretty good. I got to go over and, in spring training, I caught Nolan Ryan on the side 5 or 6 times, and then I caught a couple of those major league pitchers in AAA games too. So it worked out pretty good as far as that goes. But at that point though, I was kind of nearing the end, and I was like, I felt like I was beating my head in trying to get somewhere, and it was just stopping me. Other circumstances were coming into play, and I went to the minor league director and I asked him, would you consider me to coach for the next year? Because I think that's what I want. That's the way this is headed. So they hired me as a coach, and I've coached ever since. So, I ended up with I started with the Astros, went over to the Rangers, and then a stint with independent ball, and the Yankees, the Expos, and the Orioles, and then over with the Fort Worth team, and did, which I thought was one of the better gigs I had. That was great over there. Mm-hmm. But getting traded, all right, yeah, it's, personality-wise, Joey didn't fit well in New York because the fans, look, when I was over with New York, the first question that was asked to the scouts was, can he play in New York? Because it is terrible. I'll put it to you this way. I went to a Mets-Yankees game when I was managing in Waterbury, Connecticut. The general manager had a couple tickets, so we went over there. And I sat on the Mets side. The tickets were on the Mets side, so it was in Shea Stadium. They had separated. Yankee fans were sitting on from the middle of the field to the third base side. The Mets fans were sitting from the middle of the field to the first base side, and it was amazing. I sat there during that ball game and watched the fans jump on each other for virtually the whole game. I mean, they're calling them everything but human beings. Mm-hmm. And, we had a line of policemen standing in the middle, to be the referees and keep it to a low roar, definitely. And I just remember after the game, I asked the general manager that I went with, I said, well, that's amazing. This happened every night up here. He goes, oh, this is normal. This is normal. Well, you got to like the New York fans. They're behind their team. And I got to appreciate that, whether it's the Mets or the Yankees or the Yankees or the Mets. They're behind their team big time. So that's one reason. And Joey goes to, he might be I think he's from California, isn't he?
He's from Nevada, I believe.
Nevada.
He's in that western part of the U.S.
Okay, so it's not quite as fast-paced, although it is during Los Angeles and San Francisco, maybe San Diego. But it's a different psychology than New York. Okay, it's definitely different. So
I know I wouldn't thrive very well in New York City. Of course, I probably wouldn't thrive very well in Dallas, Texas. I'm not a big city guy.
I thought that kind of stuff didn't bother me in New York. I'd have been okay.
The older I get, the less traffic I want around me.
Just like, well, now that's another thing too. Well, you got traffic like that in Dallas. You got it in Houston. You got it in San Francisco, San Diego, New York. I mean, Chicago, wherever you go, these big cities, it's a
nightmare.
Oh, there was a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves that got lost. And he was supposed to pitch that night. And he drove around the field like 5 times. They had to. I forgot who that was.
Pascual Perez.
Yeah. He didn't know. He was in traffic and couldn't get to the exit. Then he didn't know which exit or something like that. And, they had to delay the game to wait for him to get to the ballpark. I believe. I could be wrong.
No,
on
I
that,
think
but-
it was Pascual Perez. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well,
I think they gave him a nickname like Turnpike or something.
Turnpike Perez. Yeah. Okay, so you get traded from the Rangers, which is kind of a low-key deal. I mean, Rangers is kind of laid back, and, Yankee land is not laid back.
No.
There's expectations over there that are unbelievably high. Now, they're high for a reason.
Sure.
Because of the Yankees.
Yeah.
That's
legacy.
It's a legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, where they've been in 36 World Series
The
and won
most storied
27
program in baseball history.
I'm telling you. Discipline is part of the deal, and it's strong discipline too. So I witnessed it myself when I was over there. So that's not in his psyche. So he goes over to Los Angeles, a little more laid back, a little more easygoing. Now he starts flourishing.
Yeah.
Or the pressure is not as strong, evidently.
Right.
I'm speculating. I don't know. And he's flourishing, right?
Yeah.
So good for
Doing
him.
a lot better than he did in New York, that's for sure.
Well, I don't remember him hitting for a very high average. He could put a ball into orbit though at any moment, and that is these days you're hitting 210 and you're hitting 20, 25 home runs. You're going to make a lot of money. All right, if you're hitting 250, 260 and doing that, you're going to make a little more money. Now, if you're Mike Trout, you're going to make all the money.
Yeah.
And what he's doing, he's hitting for a high average, and he's hitting balls out of the ballpark too. So, and he's in a pretty good situation out there with the Angels as well. So, I don't know. It's the thought of that one quote that from a director of Mark Newman who was there. He said, he even told me, he says, we got to find out if these guys can play in New York first.
Yeah.
Now, there's another reason. You talk about money back then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there was a player, I'm not going to say who it is, that went from the Rangers to the Yankees. The Rangers offered him the same money that the Yankees offered him. He took a pay cut.
Basically, yeah.
Because there's no state tax in Texas. There is in New York.
Awesome.
Not only is there a state New York tax, there's a city tax too, and it's up there pretty good. So what he was taking home was a lot less than what he would have taken home in Arlington. So that should be a consideration, and then a wise player will consider that before he takes the same money that he was offered in a state with no tax or a city tax.
That's why anybody who wants to be a major leaguer should at least minor in economics or accounting.
Finance.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
and
I
know
agree.
what to do with their money.
Know how to do it too,
Know
and
where to
take care
put
of it. Well, here's a reason why the guys make so much money, because their careers are so short.
Oh, yeah.
You got to look at this as a lifetime career.
Right.
I mean, that's why that you've got a little bit of time to make all the money you can. Now, I understand that, so I'm not gonna gripe about it, or complain about it. If they're getting what they're getting, I think the minimum salary for a rookie right now is like $580,000 a year. $580,000
just to show up.
Just to show up, put the uniform on, and sit on the bench.
Yeah.
All right. That's all well and good. Some guys get to play a little bit. Some guys do sit the bench for a year or two, make good money, and then things don't work out, then they've made pretty good money. But
it's like being the backup quarterback with the clipboard.
Correct. I don't know how they're doing in NFL. I can't speak on that. But, your backup guys are paid pretty good as well. So, and as far as the trades go, I mean, there's a psychology to that. Some guys are willing to go, some guys are really not, and they don't flourish as well. And then some guys can't deal with the climate that's in that particular area as opposed to somewhere else. Okay. So that's a good question, and it's hard. I mean, Mike asked some guy that wrote a psychology paper on it. If it was his thesis, that would be a great thesis for a psychology guy to, throw at everybody. Yeah, get his PhD.
Get one of those sports psychologists to delve into that.
Oh, well, wait a minute. We had a sports psychologist with the Astros. You just talked about something. I got to tell you, he turned the lights off and said, okay, I want you to vision yourself, see yourself hitting off the best pitcher you ever hit.
Losing is a disease.
Well, no. He said, I want you to imagine yourself, put yourself in a game right now. I want to know your thoughts. I want you seeing yourself hit that ball out of the ballpark. Well, things weren't going really good, and I did all this. But at the end of it, I went to the guy, and he goes, I did all that, and it was really good. I was hitting that ball hard, but dadgum, that shortstop was always catching it. So what I do, he goes, you need more than me. You need a real psychiatrist. Anyway, I got a kick out of that one. I thought I'd rattle his cage a little bit and see what he'd tell me. Boy, it was funny. Anyway,
that'll wrap up this visit to the mound. We certainly appreciate you joining us today for a little baseball talk. Anytime you want to hear something about baseball, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can go to roguemedianetwork.com for the next edition of A Visit to the Mound.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.